Fresh off the NATO summit this week, Donald Trump has plunged America back into a war with Iran. Gas prices are once again on the rise. Inflation is still way too high. Oh, and today, home prices in the United States hit an all-time high. So that's a lot going on. Don't worry, everyone, because the Trump administration and his crack economic team are on the case. They're hard at work, clearly. In fact, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent rushed back from the NATO summit, flew directly to Tennessee to handle one of those top priorities in this country.
We gather along one of the great highways that binds our nation from coast to coast. Now, above the waters of Lake Douglas, the name of the president who puts the American people first. There is no one more deserving of it than Donald J. Trump. From this day forward, every driver that encounters this bridge will see that it bears his name.
Yep, that was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today, dedicating a bridge in Tennessee to his boss, Donald Trump. And honestly, even calling it a bridge is kind of generous for that humble stretch of infrastructure you see there right on your screen. But those kind of ego-stroking tributes really do seem to be the #1 priority for Trump and his allies these days. Their focus seems to be slapping his name on everything they can get their hands on. And that little bridge in Tennessee wasn't the only thing that got branded with the Trump name today, because today the name of the Palm Beach Airport was officially changed to the President Donald J. Trump International Airport. Now, typically lawmakers wait until a president is out of office before dedicating an airport to them. There are other presidents who had airports dedicated to them. But I guess giving Trump his own special airport was a priority in making him feel like a special boy while he's in office. And it's not really a surprise, though, that some passengers, well, were less than thrilled.
I think it's patently absurd that we're spending taxpayer money to rename an airport after a criminal that's sitting in the White House.
I resent that we have to have every institution in this country being named after Donald Trump.
I think it's ridiculous. I think the efforts and the funds are better spent helping people than glorifying the president.
I think it's disgusting, ridiculous, pompous, and a lot of other bad things. I do not like it at all.
And a lot of other bad things. I love that part. Now, despite all of the crises facing this country, many of them Trump's own making, he is the president after all, he has made it clear that the thing he cares about most are his own vanity projects. Putting his name on buildings, building himself a new ballroom, spending all his time and your money on gaudy, overpriced, and unnecessary beautification projects in Washington, D.C. No detail is too small. And if you watch this show, you know that we have tried over and over and over again to show you how obsessed he is with this stuff. We've played you small clips of his very lengthy diatribes about his ballroom and his reflecting pool and his new White House walkway. But it's really hard to demonstrate with short sound bites the totality of just how much of his time and energy he devotes to these things. But lucky for us, the Washington Post finally found a way to really illustrate what's going on here and the totality. In a new analysis, the Post measured how many days out of every month Donald Trump has mentioned his beautification and construction projects. They found that Trump's focus on these projects has increased over time. We've all seen that. He mentioned his beautification and construction projects 4 out of every 5 days during the month of June. That's 80% of the days last month, just in case you're not a mathematician. Look at that chart there. I mean, for context, he talks about those projects more frequently than he mentions healthcare or China or wages. In fact, he talks about his pet projects about as often as he talks about inflation, which is the #1 issue for most voters. Now, for the last few months, the Trump administration has been claiming that the reason they were focusing so many resources on these projects was to get the Capitol ready for the nation's 250th birthday on the 4th of July. And now that that holiday has come and passed, I am guessing you will not at all be shocked to learn that these projects have not stopped. In fact, there's been scaffolding around the north portico of the White House for more than a week now. And today, that scaffolding was covered with tarps, hiding the building's iconic columns. Now, the White House says that this is all part of some sort of routine maintenance. Okay. I worked for 2 presidents and never saw any kind of routine maintenance done on the North Portico that required covering the whole thing in a tarp. Now, that aside, the backstory here is pretty important because back in March, the Washington Post reported that Trump's hand-picked head of the Federal Arts Commission proposed replacing those columns with a more ornate style favored by Trump, a style Trump has used in many of his own properties and one he handpicked for his new Eat Sweet Swing ballroom. Now, at the time of that reporting, the White House said that while Trump prefers those columns, there are no plans to change the existing columns outside the White House. But now those columns are undergoing some kind of construction, and we don't know what it is, and we can't see what it is. Today, we also learned that Trump has accelerated his plans to build a new helipad at the White House, making crews work around the clock and spending an extra $875,000 so that it will be finished in time for a visit from China's President Xi. That's according to contractors' records obtained by the Post. And that additional $875,000 to get this rush project done is really about Trump's penchant for showing off his new toys for other world leaders.